Krikoko, krikoko. Hello and welcome to another episode of Critical Coffee Considerations with me, Francis Peck, in this new year 2022. Welcome. I'll start with discussing what happened to me in the last week of 2021, which was a bit stressful, let's say. I had been enjoying this light roast with my Flare espresso, and at some point I figured, why not move to the Moka pot with the light roast, which might make sense, as it's generally advised that with a lighter roast your temperature from the water should be a little bit higher to be able to extract more. That's the logic behind it. And then the Moka pot makes a lot of sense because it starts moving through the coffee when it has generated steam to push the water up through the little pipe, through the coffee, and into the top of your Moka pot. Of course, this one has a bigger reservoir for the coffee, so I was grinding 20 grams, even more coarse than I would do for espresso. You would go coarser for a Moka pot than you would for espresso. You cannot have a build-up up to 9 bars, not at all. Actually, those kind of valves, they would start releasing the steam at around 3 bars, so that kind of gives you the maximum of pressure that the water would be going through the bed of coffee. So that's a very different extraction pressure-wise, and then you have a slightly higher temperature. So of course you get a different profile than with true espresso, that you have or should have around 9 bars of pressure and then around 92 degrees Celsius of the water, whereas at this point here it really goes through at 100 degrees, maybe a little bit higher, because the pressure buildup might cause the water to reach a slightly higher temperature than that. But my predicament was that I went too light for my grinder. So I was stuck. I was having slippage with the rubber here, not able to get through it anymore. It got quite embarrassing, as I had to then hold it like this, and my mother-in-law, had to help me get through the grind. So at this point I'm even considering buying an electric grinder, not to experience this in this new year. At least there are circumstances when your manual grinder fails you. But that was the sad story to the ending of 2021. I then finished the week drinking tea before I'll go back home. But I did get an opportunity to go to a Bialetti store, and so for this episode we have some unboxing, or should I say some unsacking. So there's not a lot of boxes in here, but what did I get? Well, first thing, finally, hopefully good thermos. It has a nice cup attached to it. It has a very iconic Bialetti logo with a man with the mustache, or the buffy as they would say in Italian, and it it promises to keep a hot drink hot for 12 hours or cold for 24 hours, but really quite interested in that 12 hours one. If I would have had this just a few months ago, I might have enjoyed a hot cup of coffee at the top of the mountain. If you want to enjoy that episode again, you should be able to find it right about here. So still have to test this properly and see if I'm really able to have a hot drink after a couple of hours with this little device. And then I got from my wife, she really stressed me on having this bag that was on offer so that I could safely store all my equipment here. And this is just filled with Moka pots, which in the end is my least preferred coffee method, although it was the first one. I started the same way 90% of Italian households start, with preparing coffee at home, which is with a Bialetti similar to this one, as it is such an easy device, and you're able to, when you receive guests, you have some kind of way of making some coffee, and it just takes a little bit of place. And in the end, my experiment with the light roasted coffee, after being able to grind it and the Moka pot, was delightful. It was a nice taste. On the espresso, it was a little bit more, with the Flair espresso, a little bit more sour than it was with the Moka pot. So it got an interesting taste profile this way. So I am going to continue experimenting with light roasts and the Moka pots, and in due time let you know how those experiments are going. But I need a different grinder, clearly, to do that. So thank you for sharing this journey, watching the episodes, and see you next time. A small extra note on my plans for 2022, my New Year's resolutions. It's been fun this month being able to have a weekly episode, and I don't know if I'm able to do that for a whole year, but then been thinking, if I aim for that, how would I organize it? Just being able to come up with ideas for, what is it then, 56 episodes, that's a challenge. So I thought, how do I divide it every month? And having different kind of branches in which to do episodes really helps. So I'll have this kind of course, getting into coffee for real episodes like today and most of the episodes up to this point. But then I'll also do Between Two Cracks, introducing people to roasting their own coffee. We'll then also go into how do you make an application for an end user and track the taste in a bit that will be called Co-Coffee, Co-Design, together with Call from Cemetery. As on popular requests, there will be a lot more episodes with Call. And then the last segment will be Coffea Scienza, getting into the real science behind coffee. As I said it before, I am a philosopher, but I'm actually a philosopher of science, so I love discussing science, and here we'll be focusing that on coffee. Of course, this gives around 4 episodes a month, so every once in a while I guess I'll do something special, some unboxing, something like that. So I would enjoy you on this journey if you have the time for it, of course. If not, and if you have the time, of course, best of luck with your plans for 2022.